amazing things happening now in the ministry. We've got a couple geeks that we took on that are ministering at heart. They design it. In other words, they come up with the ideas. If I were not there, they'd still do it, and still do it just as effectively. JD and Adam, both of them are on the computer all the time, working around the world. Just as we were driving up here, I got a call from one of them, and he said, you know that ministry in Africa where we're printing, I think, 40,000 Good and Evil, something like that? And we had just sent a large number over there, and they've been there about 6 months, and they've been in storage. He said that storage is coming up again because the guys are drawing from them, and it's going to cost $1,100 for another 6 months. Can we pay that? I said, yeah. And then he said, oh, we also have another situation where the ministers over there want to move some of the books to Zimbabwe, and it's going to cost $4,000 shipping. Can we handle that? I said, sure. And so every day it's like that around the world where they are working with people. Now, years ago, there was a guy named Shad Williams when I was 55 years ago. And he was a young man, a rock musician, just got saved. And I met him 2 weeks after he got saved and took him on to lead our band called the Scarlet Thread. And we ministered to the military and to the young people in town, and we also traveled all over. Went to Virginia Beach and set up for a week on the beach there, and had a big truck with a big sign on it and a stage that let out, and we had electric guitars and drum, keyboard, bass, and I mean we were set up, you know, trumpet too, and had about 3 girl singers and 3 guy singers, a big old band. And so Shad Williams led that, and I've seen many people get saved just after they'd sing. Just right while they were singing, you know, people start getting saved. Different times then, different era, but we saw a lot of ministry together, Shad and I, for about 3 years. And then he went his separate way and went off into missions, went overseas to Africa and India, and there he would hold campaigns outdoors to 6, 8, 10, 12,000 people. And he did that for 50 years or so. And he's old now, like I am, and his health is worse than mine, and he can't go back over there like he used to. But he still has colleges, Bible colleges that he started, churches that they got started, and many ministers that he's trained that are going all over Africa taking the gospel and doing these outdoor campaigns. And so about 2 or 3 years ago, we got in touch with Shad and said, could you use the Good and Evil? Send him a copy. He said, yeah. And we started sending the Good and Evil to Africa. And so then we started putting them in different languages. And so these guys have a central place where we ship them to, and they pick them up there and take them into different countries or different areas of the country where they are and present them to the people, and are having great results of people getting saved. See, after they leave, that Good and Evil is there as a missionary. It's there for weeks, months, years, not just one person, but 10, 20, 100, and they read it to each other. And some people have written and said, I'm a pastor in Africa, and I get my sermons from the Good and Evil. And so they're getting a pure, straight gospel taught to them. So Deb's got a little bit to tell you about some of what's going on there in that ministry. She actually knows more about it than I do.
The brains.
Brains, she said. She keeps up with it.
It is the most glorious thing you could ever imagine. Like right now in Iran wants to annihilate Israel. But according to the number of people they registered, how many in their population, 1 in every 80 people have looked at the Good and Evil, and half of those have downloaded it. And that is a serious offense in Iran, but they are downloading. If it happened in the United States, we would both just fall out from surprise, but it's happening in Iran. It's happening in Pakistan. They are downloading on their computer, on their telephones, the book. It's happening in Mongolia. It's happening in all the stand states. In Google, you look at Google and it says 0 Christians in all those different stand states. But JD says, I beg to differ with Google. He said they're downloading the good and evil in their language. And he said, we're hearing from them. They're calling on the telephone saying, we've got an underground church here. So many people are getting saved. They're reading the gospel right on their telephones. Let's see, in Mexico, somebody contacted us and said, we can get the good and evils. The government will help us to put good and evils into the prisons if you will print them and send them to us. And so I can't even remember how many we sent. Do you have any memory? I can't remember.
Thousands, 10, 20,000,
I can't remember if it was 20 or 50,000. It was a lot. And then they contacted us just this past week and said we're out. So we have two different avenues. There's certain places in the world that we don't have anybody interested in the gospel at all. United States, Russia, England, no response whatsoever. But anywhere like Ukraine, I don't remember how many we've printed twice over in Ukraine. We've got Joshua Steele living in Lviv right over there right now, and they're passing out books. They're printed in Belarus. Belarus is where they're just sending. Russia just sent the nuclear, whatever the things are. But the Russian guys are getting the gospel too through these books. It's hard to get internet over there, so they're not downloading on their telephone as much, but they've got the hard copy. So we have 3 different avenues of the gospel going out to literally millions of people. The first thing is we advertise on Google and Facebook and other social medias, and people see their own language. It goes to their area of the world if it's in their language. And when they see something in their language, it's not like in English where you have a million things on Google. They might only have a very few things. And so they open it up and they want to read it. That's one area. That's where we're reaching Iran and Pakistan, India. India, we have amazing big ministry in India. They're literally put the good and evil video on television. We're not even paying for it. They do it. They have it around the clock going. Papua New Guinea, they got the same thing. But the second thing is we have an app. You want to tell them about how you use the app?
Yeah, it's something I use about I use it about at least once a week, and I don't go many places. But take my phone out, I walk into 7-Eleven type store, and it got Indian, can barely speak a little English back there. And so I hold up my telephone, click a button right there, and here's 40 or 50 languages. Scroll down. I said, do you see your language right there? They'll inevitably, oh yeah, right there. I said, hit that. Up comes good and evil in their language. Can you read that? Oh yeah, I can read that. Would you like a copy of that? Yeah. Photograph that little thing they make. You know what, that little pattern? Huh? QR code? Okay.
Whatever it is.
No, this cute code right there. And so they'll photograph that thing, and they have all those languages right there on their phone now. And so what do? They send them back home.
Yeah.
And they share them with their friends. And so I do that every time I see somebody that looks a little foreign. I say, pick your language. It's English, buddy. Okay, excuse me. And so that's something I use all the time. It's a digital gospel tract.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah, he was at the blood bank. He's giving blood right here, and he's trying to show them here. Look at this. It's everywhere we go. He was in the hospital on Monday, and there's always foreigners everywhere you go. No one has ever said, I'm not interested.
No.
They all want something in their own language. So that's the second thing we have. And the third thing is the hard copy books. In some countries, we have to print books. And just about 2 months ago, I guess, somebody from India that we had worked with in years past contacted us. Normally, we paid up to $5 and $6 per copy, and paper is hard to get these days. This guy wrote and said, called JD and said, hey, I've got an opportunity to get a warehouse of paper. If you will go ahead and print the book here now. I'll give it to you for the same price that you got it 20 years ago. And so we contacted a whole lot of people on our mail list and said, would y'all like to send a crate of books, a pallet of books to anywhere you want, including your house, for 97 cents each. Isn't that amazing? We were just astounded. So we ended up, I think we got, what, 200,000?
I don't know.
It was a lot. People are sending books out in the gospel message. It's wonderful. We're so profoundly thankful for the men that stand with us. They don't try to get any honor and glory. They're not out for anything. They just want to get the gospel out, and every day we come in. It's just like, some days I just walk in and cry. It's just so wonderful. I'm out of here.
All right, thank you.